Good evening, everyone. Time for another silver update. This chart, provided by netdania.com, you can click on the link below, is a chart of a cross of the euro and silver. And it is sort of a beta. The term beta means how does something perform relative to the market. In this case, it's just two things, how they perform relative to each other. So the euro is in the candlesticks here, and the silver chart is in the line graph. So what I'm going to show you is I'm going to move in and show the relationship as we move in. Now, recently, silver has been trading very tightly with the euro, and that's changed just recently. But I'm going to show that as I begin to move in. We're out at the monthly chart, so you can see if we look at this, there really isn't much of a relationship except for the relationship of 2001, very close to September 11th, so for whatever that's worth. But you can see that the euro began a very strong rise, silver began a rise and then fell back. Silver apparently fell first, they fell together, and then silver caught up really strongly. But this isn't a very good correlation. This is not what is known as a high beta. So let's begin to move in. And we're now on the weekly chart. And you can see there's really not that tight of a relationship until we get to this end phase. So let's move in closer to the daily. Now with our daily chart, you can see the relationship starting in 2010, fairly close, still not really that tight. So we'll jump into the 4-hour chart. Now you can see how tight this correlation is. So it did diverge here at the beginning of the September-August period. We had the September smackdown in silver, which occurred here. But you can see we actually had a drop-off in the euro that was a precursor to that. Then we had a bottom formed in both, and a strong rally in the euro, and a follow-up rally in silver, and then a very, very, very tight correlation between the two for this entire period until right now, the period we're at today. Now you can't see how strong this divergence is until we get closer in. So let's go to the 30-minute chart. And you can see that what's happened just in the last 2 or 3 days, the euro has been under tremendous pressure. It seems to be forming almost a baseline, flatline area, something similar to what it did here, which in most markets is a precursor to a very drastic drop. So, but the main point here is you can see that silver has not followed. Silver has weakened just a little bit, but it has not followed the euro at all. If we go in a little bit closer to the 10-minute, you can see it a lot better. So following a very close correlation between these two prices, just starting yesterday, the euro began to drop off very strongly and the silver price stayed very steady. What does this mean? I can't tell you what this means. It just means that something has changed. What that something is, I don't know. Now, of course, the silver price is going to be related to the dollar because silver prices are quoted in dollars. You can get charts of silver in euros and all that other stuff, but commodities are traded primarily all around the world in dollars. So the silver price is going to be affected by the action of the dollar. But in this case, where the dollar has strengthened against the euro, this is the euro declining, the dollar has significantly strengthened against the euro, but silver has not fallen off in that scenario. So for whatever that's worth, that's my 2 cents on that topic. Now I want to take you over to a somewhat comical summary real quick here. Something I noticed that I was looking at some of the names involved in the recent scandals that we've had, and I should say scandals and non-scandals. This is a scandal where the perpetrator was actually caught and punished, and of course this is Bernie Madoff. So That's a little bit strange that we would have the guy who's famous for the biggest Ponzi scheme in history, and his name is Madoff. He made off with the money, but he didn't quite make off with the money. So he's one that got caught. Now, the next guy we're going to go to is Neil Kashkari, or I'll call him Neil Cash and Carry. He was the guy who did the TARP program. He was in charge of administering the TARP monies, and then he just kind of disappeared. He just kind of went off the radar screen. Apparently, it seems like he was hired by PIMCO. So, I don't know if he took the cash and carried it off or where he went, but that's Neil Kashkari. But I think the guy who probably is the tops of all these, and this is stuff that if you saw it in a movie, you wouldn't believe it because you would say, well, that's just too fake. So this guy has got to be the tops. Lloyd Blankfein. So here we have a guy who is nearly the epitome, if not the epitome. I would say the only other one that might come into that category would be Jamie Dimon of JP Morgan, or some of the guys from Goldman Sachs. By the way, Kashkari and Blankfein are both from Goldman Sachs. So here we have a guy named Blankfein, and this is just typical of what has happened. These guys have not been punished. There have been no perp walks. These bankers have looted billions, possibly even trillions of dollars from the American taxpayer. And what do they get? They get a blank fine. Nothing happens to them. So, really strange. It really makes you wonder the names of these people, and what does that mean? I don't know. You tell me. It's almost like we're living in a really strange movie. So, let's go over to the blog. Now, the blog that I did today, I really don't even have time to go through the blog roll. I actually posted upwards of 40 articles on there, and so there's just not enough time to even go through all of the news that hit today. I don't know why it was such a busy news cycle today for silver and gold, but it really was. So the top story that I have here is a story from Mike Krieger on Zero Hedge, and I just wanted to read a little bit of that to you. And I wanted to show you how the blog works if you didn't already know. If you click on this link, that's not very useful because it's just going to take you to the article itself. This is the comment bubble, and it takes some time. I'm working on getting a better blog platform, but as it stands right now, that's the best I have. So the things you want to click on if you want to go to an article on any of these, if you have an image on any of them, if you click the image, it will open the story in a new window. So if you just want to go to the full story, of course for copyright reasons, I'm not going to take someone's full story and put it in my blog. I'm going to give them credit, and then I'm going to give you a link. So you can either click on the read more and it will open a new window, or you can click on any picture, even Tyler's picture here. So let's go over to this Mike Krieger story. I wanted to read a little bit about this because it's so... Mike is so insightful, and I did not know Mike was a Jew, but it comes out in this, and it's very interesting that he defends Ron Paul and these charges of anti-Semitism. But let's read a really telling couple of paragraphs here from Mike Krieger. Why the elite establishment or the powers that be hate Ron Paul. In case you have been asleep under a rock for the last few months, let me fill you in. The elite in this country that control all forms of mainstream communication in the United States, as well as both fake political parties, are having a panic attack in response to Ron Paul's surging popularity. There is a simple reason for this. On the important issues, the issues that affect your freedom and economic future, he does not toe the party line of the powers that be. As I have written about endlessly for almost 5 years now, the Federal Reserve is the mechanism of American empire. and this institution's policies are the primary reason the middle class in America is on the verge of being completely destroyed. It is the mechanism for transferring wealth and power to a smaller and smaller faction of the population through persistent inflation. As Keynes wrote, quote, "Lenin was certainly right. There is no subtler nor surer means of overturning the existing basis of society than to debauch the currency. The process engages all the hidden forces of economic law on the side of destruction, and does it in a manner which not one man in a million is able to diagnose." Now, I will say that I think that probably the reason that the powers that be are a little bit worried is that that number is growing, and it's a lot bigger than one man in a million that has figured this out. Remember, the Fed creates dollars out of thin air and then forces countries to accept this counterfeit, backed by nothing, and consistently devalued money for their resources. While many people now understand this concept, what most U.S. citizens still do not seem to understand or want to accept is that it is not in the national interests of other countries to accept this certain to be vaporized currency for their hard-produced goods. Fortunately for us, there is a solution to that. Support or install via coup, if necessary, despotic puppet regimes around the world to accept this monetary system. Our Federal Reserve System, and indeed our way of life, is supported through the barrel of a gun pointed at every other sovereign nation on the planet. If you step out of line, you will be deemed a terrorist state, and we will single you out and fight for sanctions on you, and then if none of that makes you fall in line, we will start bombing you. We will say that you commit atrocities against your people, and you probably do, although we were also probably your ally recently despite the atrocities. Make no mistake about it, every country we ever go after militarily relates to defending the Federal Reserve System. Since oil being priced in dollars is the key to the system, we are always on the verge of invading oil-producing countries that we do not already have under puppet control. Israel is merely another U.S. colony. We defend it so vociferously not because of the Jewish lobby, but because they are a strategic asset in the oil-rich Middle East that we use to defend the Federal Reserve System and the American Empire. That is an excellent summary. I covered the same sort of thing. He didn't use the term petrodollar, and that's in my video, The Petrodollar Explained, but the concept is there. So, excellent summary. Thumbs up to Mike Krieger. And again, Mike Krieger is a Jew, and he does support Ron Paul. So, let's jump over to the coins, and we'll go over to Provident Metals. Now, some people have mentioned the fact that I have APMEX on my channel all the time. Actually, the reason why I've covered APMEX a lot recently is because APMEX has the best stock. Now, what is really strange, and I've gone to Gainesville right before this, and there's virtually nothing to be had. But I'm looking here at foreign silver, and this is on Provident site, and you can see there are more that are temporarily out of stock. You can see on this first page, there's 5 out of 6 that are out of stock. On the next one, we get 3 out of 6. Now you have your maples, which are a good price. You have your Philharmonics that are a good price, but any of the semi-numismatics are pretty much gone. The Chinese pandas, etc. So a lot of these are gone. Now you've got the Grizzly here. That's nearly a full $10 above spot. So if you want to pick up those Grizzlies, you're going to have to pay for them. They're very high. The Cougars are here, and those are the ones I recommended yesterday. They have them here, and they still have them on APMEX. So I've had a lot of viewers respond that they don't think the Cougar is that great of a coin. I'm still convinced that this is probably the best numismatic buy out there right now. So there really isn't a lot available, and you have to ask yourself the question. Now, a lot of people are going to say, well, there's no silver shortage. You can get these silver maple leafs. Well, that would be like going to the store and walking down the aisle and seeing that you had let's say you're talking about pickles, and you wanted to pick up a jar of Vlasic pickles, let's say, and you walk down the aisle and you see that the whole section of pickles is completely bare except for the generic store brand, one other brand, and there's 2 jars of something else. Otherwise, you're looking at this completely bare aisle. Now, wouldn't that make you ask the question, why? Well, where are the other brands? What happened? Why are they out of stock? Why are these things continually out of stock? This isn't some recent phenomenon. This is something that has been going on continually since the Bear Stearns takedown in 2008. So you really have to ask yourself the question, why are these coins out of stock? Don't they make a profit by mining? Isn't it only $5, they say, to take silver out of the ground, and then they have these very automated processes to stamp out these coins? Why are they always out of stock? So you should really put your radar on and realize that something fishy is going on here. This is clearly not a free market. There is something else involved in this market, or there would not be so many of these coins that are temporarily, and that temporary seems to last a very long time, out of stock. So that's that point. Now I want to take you over to the blog page to finish up, and if you go to my blog and click on, there's a couple of, I've got a traffic feed here so you can see the traffic coming in. There is a map here that comes from Cluster Maps, and there's the globe that I've shown you before. I wanted to take you to the Cluster Maps just to give you an idea of the number of people. Now, my blog is about 1 month old. I'm trying to grow it by showing a lot of relevant stories and trying to add a lot of content, but I'm absolutely fascinated by the level of participation. This is a click of Europe. So you can see this big red dot here. This is 300 visits. The medium one is 30 visits, and then it's 3 or less for the tiny dot. So you can see that there is a tremendous presence on my blog from Europe, and that is just fascinating to me. There are this many people interested in physical silver, because that's the theme of my blog, physical silver, and the ability of ordinary people buying physical silver to crash this fiat paper banking system. Now, if all of these people are aware of these things that I'm talking about, and we can go to the United States, of course, there's no comment on that, but we can also go to Australia, New Zealand. There's Malaysia and Indonesia. There is some participation in South America, even in the Caribbean islands and all through Central America. Remember, this is a blog that is only about 1 month old, and let's look at China. We've got Japan and Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong, Macau, India, Bangladesh, even some in Israel and Saudi Arabia. So here's some distant places in Russia. So all of these people are aware. If all of these people tell their friends about what they know about physical silver, and that they should buy physical silver, and that this is going to be the thing that brings down the financial system, the paper financial system is buying real money, physical silver money that is rare. There's only 700 million ounces or so mined every year, and it's quite possible that if enough people around the world start buying physical silver, if all of us do this, then it's probably going to blow the whistle on their fake system. So back to the main topic. For some reason, there is a disconnect going on right now between the euro and silver. Let's get closer in, and we seem to be forming, if we draw our line here, the freehand, we seem to be forming kind of a fake ceiling or bottom. This is an abnormal formation in any market. When you see this type of flooring formation, you're probably going to see one of these next. So we may be looking at a collapse in the euro very soon. And if you follow Lindsey Williams and a lot of the doom and gloomers, the prediction is that the euro is going to collapse. When the euro collapses, and by the way, on my blog, I did cover a story that came out yesterday from the CFR announcing that the euro is dead. So this is the CFR. If you're a conspiracy theorist, these are the conspiracy guys of all conspiracy guys, the Council on Foreign Relations, and they've announced that they believe the euro is dead. So if you follow Lindsey Williams and others who have said that they've been told that you will see a collapse in the euro, where the euro currency completely collapses, you will have 3 weeks left to get into cash because the dollar will collapse next. So we may not have much time, and we'll talk to you next time.